Welcome to the PIC Family Voices podcast, a space for families of children and youth with disabilities and special healthcare needs and the dedicated professionals who support them. Join us as we dive into topics from early childhood and healthcare to education, behavioral health, and life after high school, everything that shapes our shared experience. Our mission is to equip you with the insights, resources, and a supportive community to help you navigate this journey in ways that work for you, your family, and the people you care about.
Welcome to Transitioning to College, Navigating Disability Services, brought to you by the YA Council. The YA Council is a youth-driven and directed group of individuals with disabilities and/or special healthcare needs. We're focused on developing and strengthening the skills and resources needed to achieve the unique, independent life that we each desire. YA Council does this by empowering, educating, and supporting individuals and professionals in the areas of education, advocacy, and healthcare. The transition from high school to college can be challenging, especially for students with disabilities. Our goal today is to provide guidance to students and their families about obtaining disability services at college. We will hear from young people who have gone through the process and discuss the various aspects of disability services, from obtaining accommodations to advocating for your needs. Joining us as we explore the opportunities and obstacles of this exciting time in a young person's life are Keagan, Lexi, and I'm CJ. So, how did you find out about the services available?
So, this is Keagan speaking. I found out this information through online and then meeting with the coordinator through the campus tours, and then she actually came up to one of my IP meetings to tell me what I was in for. This included like what she can provide and what kinds of help. So how I was expected to participate on campus and how it was she was to help that process.
I also heard about the disability services at my college during the tour.
It wasn't like someone told me these were the options available to me. Like I was kind of already aware, and I was thinking about what services I wanted to take them up on before I went to campus.
Did you meet with someone from the Office of Disability Services as part of your college tour? Did that impact your choice to go to the school?
I did meet with my person at ODS. I did not inform my decision to go to the school. I actually had 3 colleges, and what ended up driving my decision was out of the 2 colleges I applied for, 2 of them offered live on campus options because I wanted to be independent. And what made me select Keene was the layout of the campus and the accessibilityness of the buildings. So yes, it was nice to know what services I had offered to me, but I was going there regardless. And I encourage everybody to meet with the disability service coordinator. It just was not the driving factor for my selection of campus.
I had a similar experience. I applied to 2 colleges, and on my tour of one of them, I realized that campus would be impossible for me to live in. It was so spread out. There was no way I was going to be able to walk that much in a day. So the second college that I applied to, which was much smaller and easier to get around, I ended up choosing. I would definitely recommend looking at the campus, being there and seeing whether the size, whether the layout will work for you.
So yeah, my experience is pretty similar to CJ's. I didn't necessarily base my decision on which college I was going to go to based on their accessibility services, especially because the major I was looking at was kind of niche. So that was kind of the primary driving factor determining what college I was going to go to. So I didn't really talk to SAS at all during my tour. I reached out to SAS retroactively after I'd already decided to go there to see what they could do to address my concerns about the campus and meet my needs.
Are there virtual appointments available with your disability services coordinator at your college?
Yes, especially now you had options between virtual and in person especially now that I'm at Plymouth State. They're a couple hours away, so I'm not going to their office for a disability services appointment.
I think there's a lot more stuff available virtually now. I know some of my professors allow you to go to class virtually, but you do usually have to talk to them in advance. How did you sign up for the services?
So I emailed my student accessibilities office over the summer before my freshman year. I got into contact with them. They were like really good about responding to me. We went through the whole process. Like I was lucky that I contacted them very early, so we had time to go through everything, and I got to meet with them multiple times over Zoom and like send them information over email in their portal.
What are some of the steps? And when you send the paperwork in, which is after admission?
Definitely after admission, because you want to, beforehand, you're trying to figure out, A, do you want to go to the college? And then you have to, anybody can go on a tour even without submitting an application. So you want to make sure you send this paperwork in after, and actually over the summer is a good time to do it. The kinds of paperwork I had to submit was so if you're on an IEP, your most recent current 3-year evaluation, they can like use the school psychologist's report and things. They can't use the IEP specifically, but they can use the assessments that you've done for that. I had another neuropsych report done, and I had my primary care doctor write a note, and another specialist write a note on my behalf. And once that was done and they received all the paperwork, they reviewed it and then told me the list of services that I could receive from them or that they could provide.
So what kind of information? You said you shared the assessments from IEP. What other kind of documents might you need to submit?
So I know it definitely varies on what kind of accommodation you're trying to get. For me personally, I was getting a housing accommodation, so I needed to get a note from my primary care physician, the specialist, that was affirming that I had the condition that made me eligible and saying that, yes, this condition would entitle her to these benefits. I had like a sort of a 2 reasons. So for the second one, that was the primary care physician one, the other one was a specialist. They had like a portal that they sent you through, like a secure portal, in order to keep all your documentation like safe. So they wouldn't let me do it over email. I had some issues with their portal initially, but like luckily like we resolved those within like a week.
Right. So I had a similar situation. The point of those notes, or at least I saw a couple of them that were written. One of them was just sent to them, and I didn't end up seeing. Part of what happens on in those notes is explaining why they think you should have this accommodation or why it is you're receiving services. So they describe your condition, whether they think it's going to improve or whatever exactly. It kind of helps supplement some of the other reports you send in from like the IEP and your neuropsych files and things like that.
What are some of the services you've utilized? Can you describe them?
So I used mostly ODS and priority housing and Aspire. That they're a trade program for first generation low income students, and they also help. One of the things one of the other things on their list too is if you have a disability, but they specialize in low income first generation college students are their first two qualifications. And it was really nice to have them in addition to ODS, because it was somebody you could go and talk to about FAFSA and your academics and how things are going, and if things needed to be changed more so, or in conjunction with your Office of Disability Services, who are the ones that fill out the forms to give you your academic in-class accommodations or help you get prioritized housing.
So mine is a housing accommodation. So I have a single dorm room, and I need to have a room by myself when I travel for extracurricular activities. And informally, I've used the on-campus transit system to help when I have mobility issues.
Thank you guys for sharing. What has been the most helpful?
So things that are most helpful in my transition process was my family and Aspire and ODS to a certain extent. And I also had a transition plan which allowed me to do some of the research beforehand and kind of try to let me know what I had to expect when I got to campus. I guess tutoring services too. Those have been helpful.
And what could be better?
I have actually been pretty happy with my campus's disability services. Like, I feel like they've been really responsive to my needs and helpful. I mean, I feel like it's unfair to ask them to work faster because they're a bureaucracy and they have to go through the channels. So I think that's really reasonable. The one thing I would love is just sort of to be in contact regularly and be like, hey, even if we can't get you what you need right now, we're working on it, and giving an update about where they are. So, even if it still took the same timeline, it would relieve a lot of anxiety to sort of know where my case is in the queue.
I guess for me, the biggest thing would be consistency of support. I know I was kind of in a most of the people were welcoming to when I went to Keene State, but in particular, this was this one person, and I'm telling the story not to scare everyone, but I'm telling this story to say that this is out there and to prepare you guys. I had 2 days prior to coming to campus, I had the Disability Services coordinator tell me that, granted, it was because this was the first time I was independent on my own going to college. And so, you had to learn about fixing a chair when it breaks down and those kinds of things. But 2 days prior to my coming to campus, I was told that if I was a safety concern, she could make me an online student very quickly. And so that's not really helpful for somebody who's already scared as it is to go to college, let alone to have a situation like that. And I just want others to know that, you're not alone and that, you can do it. So just consistent support among everyone, not just from a few.
There might be support from most places, but in the places where they aren't, you really feel it.
Yes, I would say that. And I would say that overall I enjoyed my experience, but I think people should be aware of that sometimes this happens during transition.
Yeah, that's an important thing to know. And again, thank you for sharing. Is there anything you've learned about working with the Office of Disability Services or using support at college that you wish you'd known earlier?
My main thing here would be, it's one thing to say you have all these independent skills that you're going to need to have to go to college. It's another thing to actually do it. And so, as I was talking about before, so I use a wheelchair. The Office of Disability Services is not responsible ensuring access is not making sure that the chair functions for you to get to class. Ensuring access is to make sure you can get in buildings and participate on an even playing field in your academics. So there's these skills that, yes, you can tell somebody to be independent and that you need to know these things, but it's something else to do it. So when you're going to college, try to think about the little things that you don't even think about in terms of, like, what does this look like? For me, my equipment vendor was, for example, 2 weeks. Well, what does that mean? For me in classes, that means I just try to hope that the chair doesn't break down any further, but I don't have another chair on campus, so I'm using that one. So, or managing when PCAs don't show up, or those kinds of things that I don't think, or at least I didn't think about until I got on campus.
Yeah, I've had some close calls like that too, where I forgot my CPAP at home or I forgot my medicine at home when I was visiting, and then I get back to campus and, if I can't sleep that night, even if I should have been able to, you just have to go to class. Or if you can't take your medicine, it doesn't matter that you're in withdrawal. That's not an excuse. So you have to have backups and be careful about planning ahead. Thank you, and that's a wrap for today's episode. We hope that you found this discussion on transitioning to college and navigating disability services helpful and informative. Remember, you're not alone, and there are resources and support systems available to help you succeed.
Thanks for tuning in to the PIC Family Voices podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. It helps us keep bringing valuable resources and stories to families like yours. Until next time, take care.